Welcome to the IT-Free Training video on installing RSAT for Windows 8.1. RSAT, or Remote Server Administration Tools, are the Windows Server Administration tools available on your desktop computer. Once installed, you will be able to perform most Windows Server Administration functions on your Windows 8.1 desktop. I will now change to my Windows 8.1 computer and start the install. First of all, I need to download the RSAT software. To do this, I will open Internet Explorer and then use Google to search for RSAT Windows 8.1. The first result will take me to the download page. If you have trouble finding this link, I've included it in the description of this video. Once the download page is loaded, I will press the download button and then click the tick box for the 64-bit download for RSAT, and then save the install file to the desktop. Once the file has finished downloading, I will close Internet Explorer and then run the RSAT setup from the desktop. The setup is essentially a Windows update, so the first question it will ask you is, do you want to install the update? The next screen will ask you to accept the license agreement. Once I press I accept, the install will start. The install process took approximately 5 minutes to complete on this computer, so I will pause the video and return shortly. Once the install is complete, the last screen of the install wizard will simply ask me to close the wizard. Now that the install is complete, I will run Server Manager. To do this, right-click on the Start menu and select the option Search from the menu. From the search, I will enter in Server, and then run Server Manager when it appears. When you start Server Manager for the first time, no servers will be available to configure. Notice that when I select the option All Servers, when the screen loads up, no servers will be displayed. To add some servers, right-click All Servers and select the option Add Servers. From Add Servers, you can enter in the server name if you know it. However, I find a simpler option is to press the button Find Now, which by default will perform a search of Active Directory. Once the list appears, I will select the computers that I know are servers and then press the right arrow key to add them to the selected area. Once I press OK, these servers will be added to Server Manager. You will notice that once the servers have been added to Server Manager will attempt to contact each server and obtain more information about that server. You will notice that in the list of servers, NYDC1 is listed as needing a restart. So Server Manager gives you a quick indication of the health of the server, for example, online, offline, or needing a restart. Notice on the left-hand side, there are a number of different admin tools that have been added. Server Manager has detected what roles are installed on the servers and has added the required tools. You can see that if I select ADDS, this will show all the domain controllers. If I right-click on one of these domain controllers, notice that a menu appears with a list of tools. This menu will only display tools that are relevant to the roles that are installed on that server. At the top are the common options that are available to all servers. You have options such as Add Roles and Features, Restarting the Server, and Computer Management. I also like the fact that they have the option for Remote Desktop Connection. This allows you to connect to the server via a remote desktop, allowing you to perform any required administration that you cannot do using the tools found here. Since this server is a domain controller, Active Directory tools have been added below this. Server Manager automatically detects which roles are installed and, in this case, has detected the Active Directory role installed and has added the required tools. This makes it easy to launch tools relevant for that server. For example, Active Directory users and computers is shown. Even though I could run the tools this way, Active Directory users and computers is configured by default to connect to any writable domain controller, so it may not connect to this domain controller. Other tools may connect to the server you have selected. Notice all the tools below this. These are command line tools. Once again, These will appear based on what roles are installed on the server. For example, DC-Diag has appeared because this server has domain services installed. Notice that when I run DC-Diag, it runs on the local computer with no parameters. So essentially, the help for the command is shown. As I scroll up, there is quite a lot of help information available about the command. If I now go back to Server Manager, essentially having all the command line tools listed here helps to remind the administrator what commands are available, and it is up to the administrator to work out the parameters that are required for each command. So if you forget which command line tools are available or the name of the tool, use this feature in Server Manager to help refresh your memory. Below this, notice the option Manage As. This allows you to connect to the server as a different user. If you require a different username than the one that you are using, this option allows you to connect to that server with a different username and password. The next option down, Start Performance Counters, will start the counters on the server. These counters allow the administrator to obtain statistics on how the server is running. For example, statistics on which software and roles are using the most CPU and RAM. These performance counters are disabled in Windows Server 2008 and above. This is to improve performance on the server as, even though most counters do not put much load on the server, they do slightly impact performance on the server. This option simply enables the counters that have been configured. For example, file counters are disabled by default as they put a lot of load on the server. If you want additional counters to be used, you will need to configure these counters on the server. If I exit this menu and select the menu Tools, notice that all the admin tools are available here. If you know which tool you want to run, you can run it from here. For example, I can run Active Directory users and computers from here rather than right-clicking a server and running it from there. When using admin tools like these, sometimes options will be missing. If you want to see these additional options, select the View menu and then select the option Advanced Features. Notice that when Advanced Features are enabled, additional containers will appear in Active Directory users and computers that were not present before. If I now close Active Directory users and computers and Server Manager, I will now right-click on the Start menu, select Run, and then run the command MMC. MMC, or Microsoft Management Console, allows the administrator to combine multiple admin tools into the one interface. With all the additional features in Server Manager, few administrators will use MMC for administration. But it is good to know if you have particular tools that you use a lot and want quick access. If I select the menu File and then select Add Remove Snap-in, this will allow me to add additional admin tools to the interface known in MMC as snap-ins. In this case, I will add Active Directory users and computers and DNS. However, you can see from the list there are a lot more to choose from. Once these are enabled, I can expand Active Directory users and computers and select all the objects in the domain. If I select DNS, notice that I will be asked which DNS server I want to administer. In this case, I will enter in NYDC1. Notice that once added, I can right-click on DNS and add a second DNS server. If you have particular tools that you always use or servers that you use regularly, it is useful to be able to configure MMC with these tools and connect to these servers. Once you have MMC the way you want it, the next step is to select the File menu and then select the option Save As. In this case, I will save the MMC with the file name Admin Console. If I now close MMC, notice that if I want to run MMC with the same configuration again, it is just a simple matter of double-clicking the shortcut on the desktop. You can see how simple it is to configure MMC with your favorite admin tools and have it pre-configured to the required servers. Thanks for watching this video from ITFreeTraining. I hope you found it useful. For more free videos from us, please check out our YouTube channel or webpage. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.